Welcome into the Steelers Talk live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Our show, as always, is presented by Prize Picks. And today is the final day of Steelers OTAs, or at least the first week of Steelers OTAs there in Southside Pittsburgh. We heard from Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, all these Steelers players this week. And man, it is a good time to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, in my opinion, guys, because there's a lot of intrigue surrounding this season. Sure, a lot of question marks, but definitely a lot to talk about. And definitely an entertaining season coming up here in 2026. And our coverage of the 2026 offseason continues on today. We got a lot to talk about. First up, the latest Steelers news and rumors. Colin Cowherd and then Bill Cowher have been sounding off on the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. Some very interesting things that they said. Then also, I'm going to be breaking down our second segment today. What constitutes success for the Pittsburgh Steelers during this one-year kind of run with Mike McCarthy as the head coach and Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback? What does this year's Steelers team need to do for this to constitute a success for this year's team? I'm going to answer that question in our second segment. Then we'll get into your questions on the mailbag here, guys, that we do every single week, where you guys can ask any question that you want on the Pittsburgh Steelers about Aaron Rodgers, about the offense, about the defense, about the new coaches, the new schemes, all that different stuff. Happy to answer all of your questions. And then our simulated Madden season continues on today with Week 3 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Tuesday's live stream with the Patriots game. Crazy finish. If you didn't go watch that one, I highly recommend it. Steelers, of course, ended up winning that one. Steelers are 1-1 in our Madden simulated season. Hopefully, they can get a win over the Bengals here later today. But make sure you guys use hashtag Steelers down there in the live chat room to get your questions on the Pittsburgh Steelers on the mailbag for free today. Or if you want to guarantee your question gets on the show today, you guys can super chat any dollar amount, $2, $5, $10, $20. Doesn't matter to me, guys. If you're going to support our show, we're going to make sure that you get up on screen, we address your question, and we get your question on the mailbag. But if you want to take your chances with a free entry here, you guys can use hashtag Steelers to get your question entered into the mix to potentially make this week's mailbag. And if you guys want to skip the line and you guys want your question answered immediately here on the show, you guys can send me a Venmo or PayPal at Jack-Sperry on Venmo or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. And again, any dollar amount, guys. And the reason why you get to skip the line when it comes to the questions with Venmo and PayPal donations is because we get to keep more of the proceeds. YouTube takes a 30% cut of every super chat you send in, and Apple takes another 10%. So if you want more of your donation dollars to go to us here at Steelers Talk instead of Google and Apple, you guys can send in your donations via Venmo at Jack-Sperry or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. Now it is time to see who the real ones are in the chat. Spam those me's in the chat room if you've liked the stream already. We already have 220 people watching live around the world, but only 35 people have liked the show. We got to get to at least 50 likes before we get into our first segment today, guys. So let's see who's all in here. We got my lovely fiance Cassie Vogt in the chat. As always, everyone say hi to Cassie. We've got Gen05. We've got Kevin. We've got Robert Kirkpatrick. We've got Roman. We've got Christopher Domingo. Czar Craig is here. JT Clover is here. We've got Dave. We've got Christopher Turner. We've got Eric Brown, Anene, Eric Brown, Kevin Reed, Happy Steeler, Michael, Playboy. We've got O-Dubs, The Only Key, The Game, Kevin Reed, Mickelson, Fluvin. Got a great crew. Jack Hay, ready to talk some Steelers football today. We'll get to your super chats. There's already a few super chats that have come in here in just a moment. But before we get into those, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor here on Steelers Talk Live, which is Prize Picks, which is America's #1 sports picks app. Playoff basketball is still here, guys, but it won't be around forever, and there's no better place to cash in during playoff season with our friends at Prize Picks. The app is really easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well, with a number of different stat projections in each of those sports to truly customize your daily fantasy lineups. You guys can take a look here at this Prize Picks lineup that I have for next year's football season, taking the more on sacks for Myles Garrett, as well as the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, and the more on receiving yards for rookie receiver Jeremy Bernard. You guys can put in that projection there for $95 with a $20 entry fee. Then, of course, you guys can download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk Live. All right, well, we have a special guest in the studio here today, ladies and gentlemen. My little brother, Joe Sperry, is with us today, visiting from Minnesota. His season just finished up there at the Minnesota Golden Gopher baseball team, and it's my bachelor party this weekend, so he's flying in. My other brother, Alex, is flying in later tonight. So big shout-out to Joe for joining us here in the studio. Joe, what's your first impressions of Chat Sports Studios?
It's pretty awesome. A lot of the guys here are pretty cool. It's cool how Ponzi and you go to work every single day. So excited to hear some more some Steelers talk.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to hear you guys talk about that. So
yeah, and so he's kind of knows us at Chat Sports, obviously, and he knows that we're known for boots and drinking boots here at Chat Sports. So I was talking to him the other day. He says, I want to do a boot. And I'm like, all right, well, here's what we're going to do. If we can make $250 in donations today, Super Chats, Venmos, total donations, $250, we'll have Joe drink his first boot. And if you guys are not aware of the boot, the Das boot, it's a really big glass boot. We'll fill that stuff up with whatever beverage of his choosing, and we'll make that happen at the end of the show. So if you guys want to get your Super Chat questions in, if you want to do Venmo, PayPal, whatever, if we can get to $250 total today, Joe's going to be drinking a boot at the end of today's live. So big shout out to Joe for joining us here. Everyone, give Joe some warm welcomes down there in the comment section if you haven't already. And with that, let's get into some Super Chats here, man. Let's get into some Steelers talk before we get into our first segment of the day. Bernard Nixon with a $5 Super Chat says, Jack, do you watch the Knoll Road? They're Steelers fans, and they are big Aaron Rodgers doubters. One of the guys kept saying A-Rod sucks. I don't watch the Knoll Road. I haven't heard of those guys, but people can have their opinions on Aaron Rodgers, and I think a lot of people, are maybe just frustrated with the idea of bringing in, another quarterback that is, an older guy. Obviously, he's going to be 43 years old in December, and somebody that people kind of view as, not a high ceiling option. All those different things. But to say Aaron Rodgers sucks, I think is taking it a step too far. I think at the very worst, he's mid. And we've talked about a lot of the reasons why I still believe Aaron Rodgers is a pretty darn good NFL starting quarterback. Now, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL nowadays, right? So I would probably say Aaron Rodgers, for me, in a vacuum, is probably around the 20th best quarterback in the National Football League. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this league. But I still view Aaron Rodgers as a very effective game manager. And now that he's got better receiving weapons around him, I think the run game's going to still be good. I think the O-line will still be very solid. I think the defense is going to take a big step forward with Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin out of the building and Patrick Graham being the new defensive play caller. In order to win a Super Bowl with maybe the 20th best quarterback in football, you got to have a really good surrounding cast around that player. And the good news for the Steelers is I do think they have the potential for all these things to click into place. They have a lot of talent. They have a very well-rounded roster. Just a matter of is this group going to be able to execute, and are the right pieces going to click into place at the right time? Kind of like how it did for the Eagles 2 years ago, the way that it did for the Seattle Seahawks last year. Are we going to get that sort of deal here with the Pittsburgh Steelers? And that's the thing we don't know just yet. So I guess we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. And of course, Aaron taking his game to another level with the better weapons around him is a question mark as well. So $2 here from Bernard says Michael Wilbon from ESPN said Aaron Rodgers is irrelevant. Well, clearly he's not irrelevant because they're talking about him almost every day on First Take. He's one of the most talked about figures in the National Football League over the last week and frankly over the entire offseason. So obviously, ESPN and Fox Sports and all these different places wouldn't be running Aaron Rodgers stuff if people didn't want to hear it, right? So obviously they see an increase in ratings when Aaron Rodgers is being discussed, and it's because he's a very polarizing figure. People love him, people hate him. People have different opinions on just how good he is and how good the Steelers can be with him at quarterback, and it's an interesting conversation. So I disagree with Michael Wilbon. He's just a Rodgers hater, and he wants to kind of put him down a peg, even though he pretty clearly is relevant in today's NFL. The next question here, again from Bernard, says, I say it right now, Aaron Rodgers will be in the MVP race. I mean, listen, man, I'm not willing to go that far. Like I just said, I think in a vacuum, if you're stacking up the quarterbacks in the National Football League, I think if you're being realistic about it, he is somewhere around the 20th best quarterback in the game. All right, give or take a couple spots. He might be in the high teens or the low teens, depending on how you view that, but I think that he's around the 20th best quarterback in the game because, he's not what he once was, right? MVP caliber guys, they're guys that are like, creating plays out of structure. They're elevating their teams in those ways, and I don't know if I see Aaron Rodgers doing that at this point in time. I think he's a good game manager. I think he gets the ball out quickly. He negates negative plays. I think if you put a good surrounding cast around him and you have good play calling, he can be a good producer at the position. But will he be the league MVP this year? I would highly doubt it. All right. And I'm not putting my expectations that high. Would it be great? Absolutely. I would be thrilled if Aaron Rodgers could put together one more MVP caliber season here in Pittsburgh. And if he can do that, I think this Steelers team is absolutely a title contender this season, but I'm going to temper my expectations here. I think he will be better this year than he was a season ago because of the better help around him, hopefully the better play calling. But listen, man, I don't think the Steelers necessarily need Aaron Rodgers to be an MVP caliber quarterback, especially if their defense can take that next step, which I absolutely think they're capable of here. We've got a Venmo here, a $50 Venmo. Get ready, Joey. You're going to be drinking here soon, buddy. Wealthy Life DEY with a $50 Venmo. Shout out to Wealthy Life. He was a big donator last show as well. So I want everybody in the chat to spam wealthy in the chat. Wealthy, 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 wealthy. Making it rain here. Appreciate you, my friend. He says, Big Mike McCarthy is very wise. Getting Aaron Rodgers for 1 year allows him to put his imprint on the team and get us a good look at who will be next. This is genius. And listen, man, I largely agree with that, Wealthy Life. I think that bringing Aaron Rodgers back and it kind of allows Mike McCarthy to not start his Steelers tenure with a bad season, right? Because the Steelers currently have the longest streak in NFL history, or tied for the longest streak in NFL history of the longest streak of consecutive non-losing seasons. 23 straight years, the Steelers have either been 500 or better, okay? And I guarantee you, Mike McCarthy, a Pittsburgh native, doesn't want his first season as the Steelers head coach to be like a 4, 5, 6 win season and this team to completely, crap out. That is not what Mike McCarthy wants to do. He wants to have a very successful season. And I think that he will have that here with Aaron Rodgers at the starting quarterback position. Now, how successful will it be? We will see. Okay. Okay, cool. Just got a little update there from Cassie. Wealthy, it's not wealthy wife, Ponzi. It's wealthy life. It's wealthy life, not wealthy wife. It's with an L. It's wealthy life. So F Ponzi in the chat for screwing that up. I didn't say wife. I said life. No, I said life. Chat. What did I say? I said life. I don't know what Ponzi was hearing there. I guess it sounds similar, but no. I thought I said wealthy life. But yeah, I think that bringing Rodgers back will lay that really good foundation, right? You have a quarterback that knows this offense, can really set that foundation in place. And listen, man, even if you go 10-7 this year and you're a round one playoff exit for like the fourth straight year in a row, at least you're setting the foundation for success for some of the younger quarterbacks in this room. Will Howard, Drew Aller, hopefully one of those guys you can go into the 2027 season and feel really good about. And if you don't feel good about those guys, there's always the option to draft a quarterback early on in 2027 as well. But having Rodgers here, gives this team the best possible chance to succeed this season, whatever that looks like. And, he's going to, kind of lay that groundwork for the McCarthy era on the offensive side of the ball. And then, you can move forward with a new starting quarterback and McCarthy's guy heading into 2027 and beyond after Aaron Rodgers gets us started here in 2026. Next super chat here from Bernard Nixon says a lot of people don't think the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders. And I understand why people don't, all right? There's a lot of question marks that the Steelers are going to have to answer during the season. So, like, if you're just looking at the Steelers roster right now, there's a lot of question marks, right? Aaron Rodgers, he was not like a super high efficiency quarterback last year when you look at the advanced metrics, all right? We've talked about a lot of the reasons why we think that is, but he still needs to prove that with a better wide receiver room than he had last year, that he can put up better production. Not to mention he's going to be in a new offense, right? And this is an offense here with Mike McCarthy where in the final kind of year that they were together, it was not an effective offense, right? So there's still the possibility that Rodgers doesn't take that step forward that we've been saying on this channel that we're expecting. Also, the offensive line is going to have a lot of moving components. They're going to have 3 returning starters, but 2 of those starters are going to be switching sides. Troy Fautanu will play left tackle. Mason McCormick will play left guard. Those guys played on the right side last year. So can those guys, keep playing a high caliber of football even though they're moving to the other side of the line? That'll be a question mark. Who's going to start at right guard and right tackle? And are those guys going to play well? That's going to really make a big difference in terms of what this run game is going to be in particular and how much they can protect Aaron Rodgers. Will Jeremy Bernard be an instant hit in this league? Will Roman Wilson maybe play a little bit better than he has in years past? Will Michael Pittman Jr. continue to play well, or, is he going to start showing some age this year? Those are all questions that need to be answered specifically with the offense. And then this defense, are they going to take that next step under Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator? Or are they going to continue to kind of live in this space of mediocrity, being good but not great? All those things, are realistic possibilities for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. So, and there's really no established credit that they have built up to say, yes, for sure, this is going to happen. So we can project and we can say, we think this defense will take it the next step. We can say, we think Aaron Rodgers will play better with better weapons around him. We can say, we think this offensive line will gel together this year, but we just don't know yet, right? So when people say that they don't think that Steelers are Super Bowl contenders this year, I don't necessarily blame them because we don't really have a lot of evidence right now to say that they will be. But I think that we can look at the talent that exists on this roster and say, being a title contender is on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year if all these things click into place at the same time. I guess we'll see if that ends up happening. $5 here from Schuleberg says, Berg's Prod used your voice in his Aaron Rodgers re-signing edit. You should check it out. I have no idea who that is, but I guess I'll check it out, Schuleberg. I appreciate you letting me know. But $5 super chat there, so shout out to Schuleberg. And we don't have to put that super chat on the mailbag, Ponzi. Will we get another one here, Ponzi? Have one more super chat here. Oh, we don't? Okay, cool. So we're just going to get into our first segment of the day here, guys. First up, the latest Steelers news and rumors, talking about Bill Cowher and Colin Cowherd talking about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, what they had to say. Then also, coming up next, I'm going to be breaking down what constitutes success for the Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy experiment this year here in Pittsburgh. Then we'll take your questions on the Steelers Talk live mailbag, and then we'll finish up the show here with our Madden sim for Week 3 versus the Bengals. And then if we can can get the Super Chats going, we're going to finish things out with Joey drinking a boot at the end of the show. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment of the day here, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. First up on today's show, Colin Cowherd rips the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, and specifically their pursuit of a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers over these last two off seasons. But then Bill Cowher of CBS Sports defended Rodgers and the Steelers on Cowherd's show. Some pretty spicy stuff there that we'll discuss later in the program. And then I have two more takeaways from Aaron Rodgers' press conference after rewatching it this morning. I have a couple more thoughts that I want to share with you guys, so make sure you stick around to the end for those additional takeaways. But now we can start today's news and rumors content here with Colin Cowherd, who on his show this week has ridiculed the Pittsburgh Steelers for pursuing Aaron Rodgers at his old age over younger quarterback options that he believes were no-brainers for the Pittsburgh Steelers over these last two springs. This is what he had to say on his show this week. The Steelers treat the quarterback position like it's a slot corner or an interior offensive lineman. Now, I would feel bad for the Steelers if they really did care about it or they got trapped because there wasn't a lot of options. There were 4 to 5 options, 2 to 3 were obviously better, talking about the quarterback position. And the 4 to 5 quarterbacks that he discussed on his show that he thinks were obviously better than Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold coming over from the Minnesota Vikings, that was last offseason, Daniel Jones last offseason, Jackson Dart, obviously first-round pick for the Giants last year, and then this year's options that he felt were clearly better were Kyler Murray and Malik Willis. By the way, guys, this is the same man that said earlier this offseason that he still believes Aaron Rodgers is a top 10 NFL quarterback. So it's like, which one is it, Colin? Is it the Steelers brought in a top 10 quarterback, or is it, they don't care about the quarterback position? Because you can't have it both ways here, dude. By the way, Colin is also predicting the Steelers to do well this season. He predicted on his show this week that he thinks the Steelers will start their season before the bye 7-1. That is going to put them in contention to be, not only the number one team in the AFC North, but the number one team in the AFC. Starting your first 8 games off with 7 wins, that's going to set this team up for a ton of success in terms of position in the NFL playoffs, all these different things, barring some sort of collapse at the end of the season. That would almost guarantee the Pittsburgh Steelers are making the playoffs this year. But at the end of the day, man, when he makes this criticism that the Steelers should have gone younger at the quarterback position, they don't care about the quarterback position, he just hasn't looked that deep into this, all right? Like, he obviously doesn't cover the Pittsburgh Steelers every day like we do on this channel. But someone like him that covers the team from a national point of view and doesn't really have that in-depth perspective probably doesn't know that the Pittsburgh Steelers actually did make an offer to Sam Darnold last offseason during NFL free agency, and instead of choosing the Steelers, he chose the Seattle Seahawks. So, what? Do the Steelers not get credit for at least trying to get Sam Darnold? I guess they could have offered him more money, but people forget, Sam Darnold was not considered like a slam dunk free agent option last year. People were ripping him for his performances against the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams to finish out his Vikings career, and the narrative on Darnold was he couldn't play in big games, right? So, there wasn't a lot of people saying, yeah, absolutely, Steelers, go out and get Sam Darnold. I think that this is kind of a 2020 hindsight situation where after Sam Darnold went to Seattle and won a Super Bowl, Colin Cowherd can sit in his chair and be like, oh, the Steelers should have got Sam Darnold. It's like, well, yeah, with hindsight, you could say that, but at the time, that was not an obvious choice. And also, the Steelers did make an offer to Darnold, so they did try to get him. It just didn't pan out their way. Then the other quarterback that he lists as a free agent option that the Steelers should have pursued, Daniel Jones, the guy that got ran out of New York and everybody thought was going to be the backup to Anthony Richardson last year. That guy, we should have got Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers. That's just completely revisionist history here to say that they should have gotten him. And let's not forget how low the Steelers were and how low Steelers fans were on Dart. Everyone was like, oh, he's going to be the next Kenny Pickett. All right, so we can't look retroactive retroactively in here and say the Steelers should have got Jackson Dart. Also, Kyler Murray probably wasn't choosing Pittsburgh over Minnesota this year, so to mention his name is idiotic. Like, he's not picking the Pittsburgh Steelers with all their new stuff over Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, and the Vikings. And then Malik Willis, sure, you could make an argument that he's a younger option. He's got a lot of upside, played in the NFC North, showed some good things in cold weather last year. If the Steelers would have signed Malik Willis this year, I would have been fine with it. But he was far from a sure bet as well. So Colin saying, oh, the Steelers had all these young options that they could have went out and got, I just don't see it, man. So I think Colin is missing a big piece to the puzzle when it comes to this situation. And, I think that it's his take that the Steelers don't have any sort of long-term plan. I think the Steelers absolutely have a plan in place here where they have two younger quarterbacks on their roster that they like in Drew Aller and Will Howard, and they think that the mentorship that those guys get from an older quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, is an awesome mentor, one of the smartest quarterbacks in NFL history, is going to benefit those guys, and it's going to give them a higher chance to be this team's franchise quarterback of the future. And I think the reality of the situation, guys, is that we may not agree on the long-term plan that the Steelers have at quarterback. Maybe you don't believe in Drew Aller. Maybe you don't believe in Will Howard. But to say that Pittsburgh has zero long-term plans at the quarterback position and they don't care about quarterback is just an idiotic take from Colin Cowherd. And it's just spoken like someone that doesn't know this football team and doesn't cover it every day, which of course he doesn't. So coming up here on the show, Bill Cowher insists that Pittsburgh will be good this year and came to the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers on Colin Cowherd's show. We're going to see what Cowher had to say about the Steelers in just a second here. But first, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor here on Steelers Talk, which is Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Playoff basketball is still here, but it won't be around forever, and there's no better place to cash in during the playoff season with our friends at Prize Picks. This app is really easy to use, guys. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well, with a number of different stat projections to choose from to truly customize your daily fantasy experience. You guys can take a look at next year's football season stats as well, where I'm taking the more on sacks for Myles Garrett, as well as the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, and the more on receiving yards for Jeremy Bernard. This particular projection here would pay me $95 with a $20 entry fee if I get all three correct in what Prize Picks calls a power play. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So here was Bill Cowher's response to Colin Cowherd on his show regarding Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. He says Aaron inherited a mess, a dysfunctional offensive culture last year, terrible receiving core, broken offensive culture. Aaron is going to be good this year. They got Michael Pittman Jr. He's going to be good. The Steelers are going to be good this year. They're going to vie for the division again this season. Now, Coach Cowher, somebody that actually knows football and actually follows the team as the former head coach of this team, still a fan of this team, he gets it. He saw last year's team and saw that, DK Metcalf was the only legitimate downfield threat that Aaron Rodgers had to work with, and he was getting double-teamed consistently because of that fact. And now you're adding Michael Pittman Jr., you're adding Jeremy Bernard, you're taking away Jonnu Smith, which is huge for this offense because it's going to give more opportunities to Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, right? You still have a good running back duo. This is undeniably a better offensive roster around Aaron Rodgers this year. So he's going to play pretty well this year, all right, in my opinion, and in Coach Cowher's opinion, unless he falls off a cliff with his arm strength. Aaron Rodgers should have a better season this year than he had last year, and I think that they, frankly, have a great surrounding cast around Rodgers. As long as this offensive line can find a rotation that gels together, I think that this is probably the best built offensive line, best built group of weapons, and best built overall offense that the Steelers have had since at least 2020 and maybe even before that. And really how I think of this situation, guys, is, can Pittsburgh compete for a title this year because of Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to be an MVP candidate? Is he going to be a top 5 guy in the league? I don't think so. No, I don't think Rodgers is capable of being that quarterback anymore. But can they compete for a title this year with Aaron Rodgers if they can surround him with a great supporting cast and a really good young offensive line that can protect him, a good run game, a good set of weapons, and a defense that goes from good to great here in 2026? I think if you do that, you give Aaron Rodgers a chance to be that game manager with a good scheme that he's familiar with, to get the ball downfield more than he did last season and be a legitimate top 15 passer in the National Football League here in 2026. And at the very least, guys, this season has a great chance to at least lay a great groundwork for success during the Mike McCarthy era. All right, the Steelers currently have the longest streak, or tied for the longest streak in NFL history, of the most seasons in a row without a losing season with 23. You really think the Pittsburgh native Mike McCarthy wants to come in here and have a 4, 5, or 6 win season with Will Howard as his starting quarterback? No chance. All right, he wants to have a good, successful season this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers in his first year here in Pittsburgh, but he also wants to lay the groundwork for the future at the position as well. So coming up next year on Steelers Talk, a Rodgers soundbite from yesterday's press conference that should encourage fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of this team heading into the 2026 campaign. But before we get into the rest of today's show, I want to tell you about our other sponsor here on today's program, which is SeatGeek. The Steelers 2026 schedule is now set, and tickets for every Steelers game this season, home, away, and internationally, is now available for purchase on the SeatGeek app. Use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your next set of Steelers tickets. And you guys can actually take a look here at the chart that they have at Acrisure Stadium for the season opener versus the Atlanta Falcons. You guys can see plenty of seats still available and plenty of green dots there, which mean good value right there on the app as well. And whether it's a baseball game at PNC Park with the kids or an Ed Sheeran concert with the wife, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a value scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Again, look for the green dots. Those mean good value, and obviously the red dots mean bad. Of course, I have a code for you guys to get an even better deal. Use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets with our friends at SeatGeek. One more time, that's 10% off any tickets with promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the comments and description to download the app. And have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later on. And a big thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now, during his press conference yesterday, I was rewatching it this morning, talking about Aaron Rodgers. He made a point to, quote-unquote, temper expectations for this year's team, which I think was very interesting. He was asked about if he thinks this team can win a Super Bowl this year. This was Rodgers' response. I think you have to temper expectations this time of the year because all the years I've played, sometimes you get really excited about guys and how they look in shorts and a helmet, and then when the pads go on, it just changes everything. It changes the offensive line first and foremost, but it changes how guys play. Some guys slow down. Some guys speed up. Some guys have extra confidence with pads on. Some guys have some trepidation with pads on. So you just got to kind of temper your expectations, not make any snap judgments, and wait until camp to see how things come together. But I am excited about these guys. I'm excited about the team, and it's fun to be back in the locker room with those guys. Now, the reason why this is good, all right, is because you want your players, and especially your leaders in the locker room, to not get caught up in the hype and put their heads down and really focus on building this team so that they can reach their potential instead of, buying the hype, kind of being a bit lackadaisical because you kind of start smelling your own farts a little bit and all this different stuff, and you think you're going to be better than everybody else, and then you end up getting to the season and everybody has outworked you. With Aaron Rodgers here, he's kind of saying, hold on here, let's temper expectations. We haven't done anything yet. We have to go to work every single day, and we have to prove that we deserve to, have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl this year every single day during practice. And if your leader is thinking this way, that means your locker room is going to be thinking this way. And if your locker room is thinking this way, that means you're going to have a very focused group and a hungry group as we head into the rest of OTAs, as we approach training camp, and of course we approach the start of the season. But make no mistake, guys, Rodgers is excited about this year's team. He wouldn't be coming back if he wasn't excited about the additions that they made to the team, the talent that exists here. He believes this team has a chance to really compete and compete at a high level. And this is what Rodgers had to say about the additions that were made this offseason. I think we were close last year. I think we added some good pieces for this year. It felt like we needed an offensive lineman probably at some point. They drafted a guy in the first round they like. Thought we needed somebody who can work in the slot at receiver, and obviously Jeremy Bernard being picked there is a guy they think can do it. Bringing in Pittman was obviously a good addition. Rico Dowdle, Jamel Dean on defense, Jaquan Brisker as well. So a lot of good pieces being added to the mix. So just because Rodgers says temper your expectations doesn't mean he doesn't think it's possible for this team to make a run. He just wants to make sure this group is focused as we approach the season. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Do you believe the Steelers have any chance at a title this year with Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback? Even just a 1% chance. Let me know what you guys think. Down there in the comment section, give me a yes if you think there's hope. Type no if you think this is going to be a wasted season and this is kind of a fruitless endeavor that the Steelers are going down. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers News and Rumors. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We provide you guys free and informative Steelers content on this channel every single day. So if you guys are interested in that and you like what you heard today, do me a favor, click that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. First segment in the books, and we got, I think, a couple Venmos here. First one, Anthony G. Anthony G with a 2 says, Berg's prod is dope, low-key Steelers fan who does cool NFL shorts. So I guess he was using my voice for something? I mean, okay. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll look into it. But then we got a $10 Venmo here from Jason B. Shout out to Jason B. He says, no question, just enjoying your Steelers coverage. Appreciate you, my friend. If you have a question, feel free to put it in hashtag Steelers, and Ponzi will do his best to remember that you put in a $10 Venmo. But appreciate you, my friend. So what are we up to now? So we're up to 62 in Venmo, about 30 in Super Chat. So right now we're just under $100 total in donations, guys. If we get to $250 total, my brother Joe, who's in studio with us, he's flown in from Minnesota for my bachelor party this weekend. He's going to get the party started here on a Thursday evening with a nice with a nice boot. So if you guys want to see that happen, get those Super Chat questions in, those Venmos. I greatly appreciate your guys' support. And then we got some more Super Chats here to discuss before we get into our second segment of the day here, where I'll be discussing what quote-unquote success looks like for this Rodgers-McCarthy kind of experiment that we're going to be doing this year here in Pittsburgh. $2 from Bernard says, do you think Aaron Rodgers gets benched mid-season? I don't. I think that he plays the entire season, and I think he plays well enough to play the entire season. I think that this team is going to be competitive at the very least in terms of a playoff spot. I don't think they're going backwards, guys. I think that they're going to stay probably, as long as you have a relatively amount of your stars healthy and you don't have a bunch of injuries, you should be around that 10-7 mark, and you should be able to compete for a playoff spot this year, right? So don't think, if that's the case, that Rodgers is going to get benched mid-season. I certainly don't think he's that bad of a quarterback where that's going to be what happens. $5 from Hunter Dillman says, where do you see the Steelers being strongest versus weaknesses this season, and what areas of the roster concern versus excite you the most? Well, I think the strongest in terms of just pure roster talent is the defense. And I'm just going to say the defense as a whole, because I think that this group has a chance to be elite this year. And I think we've said this about the Steelers defense in many of the previous seasons, but I think Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin's kind of dated and outdated scheme held this team back, frankly. And I think now that you bring in a Patrick Graham, who's done some really good things in his career as a defensive play caller, this is by far the most talent he's ever had in his play calling career. I think I really love his defensive philosophy where, it's versatile and, he's very multiple in the fronts and he gets very creative and he loves to, disguise things and he loves to play man coverage. We have the guys to be able to do that this year, in my opinion. I'm very excited to see what this defense can do this year. Now, obviously, this has been a group that has underperformed expectations in recent seasons, so they have to prove it, and it is still a question mark, but I don't think there's any questioning the potential with this group, with the athleticism and the talent and the experience that's in this group. I mean, how many, at least former All-Pros, do they have on this team? Like, they've got a ton, and I think that they've got a lot of young pieces that bring a lot of athleticism, that are very talented, that could have breakout seasons this year. So I'm very excited about the defense. In terms of the weaknesses, I think in terms of question marks, I have a big question mark on the right side of the offensive line because it does appear that Troy Fautano and Mason McCormick will both be moving to the left side of the offensive line this year. So there's just big question marks as to who is going to play at right guard and right tackle, and then will those players be good enough to make this a formidable offensive line. Because if you want this run game to be as good as you want it to be, you got to have those two players be solid players. If you want Aaron Rodgers to not take, sacks this year past his first read, you want him to hold the ball a little bit longer. Like, you can't have an offensive line where the entire right side is a complete liability, right? So the offensive line is going to be a big one. I also think, in terms of the defensive side of the ball, the weakness there is the linebacking room. Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson haven't played terrifically the last few seasons, and if that continues, that will be the clear weakness of this Steelers defense again. However, we saw Patrick Queen outside of the Tomlin and Austin scheme be an all-pro player, all right? That's why he got paid what he got paid, in free agency a few years ago. And then Peyton Wilson, still very talented. So I'm very intrigued to see how those linebackers do, because they're very physically talented and gifted, how they do inside a new defensive scheme and a modern defensive scheme. I'm really excited to see what Patrick Graham can do with those linebackers, but I would say those are pretty big question marks as well. Then Holden Monroe with a 5 says, could you outline what we can expect to see different with McCarthy's offense versus what we have seen over the last year or so? What interests you? So, honestly, a lot of the bones of the offense that we saw last year, especially as the season went on with Arthur Smith, it's going to look similar in some ways. All right, you're going to see, I think, the jumbo personnel packages again. I think you're going to see Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington out there in 12 personnel looks a lot, especially on early downs. All right, but where I think there's going to be a lot of shotgun in this offense like we saw towards the end of last season. And there's going to be a lot of quick game and screens, and that stuff will still exist in this offense. The big difference, though, Holden, that I think we're going to see is I think Mike McCarthy is going to really drive home that we want to throw the ball downfield more because he loves throwing the ball vertically. You watch those Dak Prescott Dallas Cowboys offenses, which, by the way, they still run a Mike McCarthy-style offense there in Dallas under Schottenheimer. They like to throw the ball down the field when there's opportunities. They love those choice routes where, based on the coverage, the quarterback can throw it to the receiver and the receiver can adjust to the route based on the coverage. We're going to see a lot of that this year. And with the added offensive weaponry that the Steelers have this year, there's going to be more opportunities for Rodgers to throw the ball down the field. So I think we're going to see the main difference is more throwing of the ball 10-plus air yards down the field. I really believe that's going to be a core tenet of this offense. And, I'm really excited to see what that looks like. Also, Holden, I think we'll see the ball thrown over the middle more, all right? Mike McCarthy, he likes those in routes, right? He likes those backside digs too. It's not just the McVay people that like those things. So I think that we will see more stuff over the middle of the field than we've seen in previous seasons. And I think we'll see more downfield passing with McCarthy being a much more aggressive offensive mind than Arthur Smith was. So I think those will be the main differences. $5 from Bernard says, this is the last year nobody thought the Seahawks can win a Super Bowl. Anything can happen. Just saying. Absolutely. Anything can happen. And that's why I think it's a good decision to bring back Aaron Rodgers, because at least he gives you a chance. All right? Like, I would contend that he's probably around the 20th best quarterback in football. That's still a good quarterback, by the way. That's still like a solid quarterback. There's a lot of good QBs in this game today. But it's way better than going with Will Howard or going with Mason Rudolph or going with Drew Aller, all of which probably aren't in the top 40 quarterbacks in the world right now. I'm taking a top 20 guy over a guy that might not even be in the top 40 in the league any day of the week in a win now season, right? And I firmly believe, I think if I put together my list, Ponzi, of the top quarterbacks in football, I would have Jalen Hurts, slightly ahead of Rodgers, like 18, 19. I think that he has serious limitations as well. And the Eagles were able to win a Super Bowl with him, but obviously they had to put everything else around him. They had to have the super strong run game and the really good weapons, and they had the best defense in football that year. And, they made it, frankly, pretty easy for Jalen Hurts to win a Super Bowl that year. He only had to throw the ball like 20 times a game or whatever it was. But I do think this will be probably a more pass-heavy offense. Rodgers will play a bigger part in this year's offense than Hurts was in that Eagles offense. But the point is, if you're going to win a Super Bowl with like the 20th best quarterback in the game, you got to have everything else around that player. You got to have a really good supporting cast for that quarterback so you can get the most out of that talent. You got to have a strong run game. You got to have good game management. You got to stay healthy. You got to have a really good defense. I would argue probably an elite defense to make it happen. So, the pieces need to fall into place for the Steelers to compete, in my opinion. But there is a world here where that's a possibility. Like, they have the potential for all these pieces to, click into place. It's just a matter of will they, right? And we're going to get answers to those questions in the months that come. $5 from Czar Craig says, what are your thoughts on the idea of stashing a QB on IR so the Steelers can keep all four? Pros and cons. Many thanks for all the fantastic content. Well, there has to be an injury of some variety. And if you put someone on IR before the season begins, they're done for the season. So unless, the only way I could see this being a possibility is if they do this to one of the younger guys, because I don't think they'll put Mason on IR. He's an older guy. But, I think the writing is kind of on the wall when it comes to Mason. According to Rudolph himself, the team has already informed him that the younger guys are going to get more reps during, the preseason process here. Will Howard is getting QB2 reps over him at this point. So I've been saying the only way Mason makes the team, in my opinion, is if Will Howard just shits the bed. Plain simple. And he's not even close to as good as Mason Rudolph is, because I do think the Steelers want a serviceable backup on the team, and I don't think that's Drew Aller, all right? Frankly, if Drew Aller is this team's QB2 and he beats out both Howard and Rudolph this year in camp, that's a really good sign for his development. But I'm not expecting that. I think Aller's a true project, that he's going to be the QB3 this year. It's going to be between Howard and Mason for the QB2 job. And because Mason's younger, he's got more theoretical upside, all those different things. Like, Mason's almost 30 years old. Like, we know what Mason is, and he's not terrific, right? You're not winning a Super Bowl with Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterback, right? So I think what they do is they probably cut Mason. Now, if Will Howard comes out in camp and he just sucks and he stinks, then yeah, sure, you keep Mason as your QB2 because, if Rodgers, God forbid, goes down, you want somebody that's at least functional. But if Howard is a functional player, and they believe that at the end of the preseason, Mason's out of here, in my opinion. And no, they will not use an IR spot on him. Do we have any more Super Chats here? Second segment? Oh, let me see here. Let's place this. Let's just put it after that better prospect one. Yeah, let's just put it there. My bad on that. All right. Well, we are ready, folks, to get into our second segment of the day here. Oh, no, we got a Super Chat, so we'll hit that first, then we'll get into our second segment here. Stick around. Of course, continue to get your Super Chat questions in, those hashtag Steelers questions in. We'll be doing the mailbag after this second segment, and then we'll be getting into our Week 3 Madden Sim versus the Cincinnati Bengals as well, coming up here momentarily. But Hunter Dillman with a $2 Super Chat says, what's Patrick's defensive floor versus ceiling in 2026? The floor, I would say, obviously, it depends on injuries, but on paper, I would like to say the floor is like top 15, top 10, like still a good defense. Like, there's just too much talent on this defense to think it's going to be straight up bad. Ceiling is the best defense in football, period. With the pass rush that you have, both on the interior and on the edge, the talent you have at linebacker, at least from a physical perspective, The veteran experience and the man coverage ability you have in the secondary, the big nickel ability of Jalen Ramsey, and the defensive creativity of Patrick Graham, this could be the best defense in the league this year. It could be. It's still a question mark whether they will be, and we'll have to see how they do. And obviously we had those kinds of expectations for this team last year, and they fell way short of those. But the talent and the potential is there for this team to be the best defense in football. And if that happens, you can maybe compete for a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers as your starting quarterback, right? Especially if this offense plays better this year compared to last, which is definitely what I think is going to happen. Better weapons around him, better play calling. I just don't see a world where Aaron Rodgers plays worse this season if he doesn't get injured. So that's where I'm at with it, man. Continue to get those questions in. We're going to get into our second segment right now, which defines what success looks like for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. You are watching Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get $50 in additional lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. And on today's show, guys, I'm going to be breaking down what does success look like for the Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy era that's going to unfold here over the next year. And then also, what does success look like for the Mike McCarthy era as a whole? We're going to be breaking down those questions on today's show. But before we get into it, let me know down there in the comment section, what does success look like this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is it making the playoffs? Is it winning the division? Is it winning a playoff game? Is it winning multiple playoff games? Is it Super Bowl or bust? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And personally, guys, I think there's two ways that the Aaron Rodgers and Big Mike can be successes here in Pittsburgh, okay? And we're going to break down Rodgers and McCarthy separately because obviously Rodgers is on a one-year timeline here, or we think a one-year timeline, and then Mike McCarthy hopefully can be here for a little while longer, right? So I think the first marker of success for Aaron Rodgers is are the Steelers in the mix to make a run for a world championship by the time we get to the playoffs, right? Is this a team that can realistically make a run, win multiple playoff games, and put themselves in contention to win a Super Bowl, okay? And I believe that there's two ways for an NFL team to realistically expect to compete for a championship in the modern NFL. The first way is obvious. You have an elite, superstar, star-level quarterback that's driving the bus, and you just put a good enough surrounding cast around them to get the job done. But really the main reason why you win that Super Bowl is because of the quarterback, like the Chiefs teams with Patrick Mahomes, for example. But then the second way is you have a good offense with a solid starting quarterback and an elite defense. This is kind of what we've seen with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks these last 2 years, in my opinion. They fit into that category. And how I see this situation right now, guys, is that there is a path for this year's Steelers team to compete for a championship. There is a world where this team could get to that level, but that path is somewhat narrow because of how many things need to go right in order for that to become a reality, and multiple things do need to click into place at just the right time if this team is going to be that caliber of team by the time we get to the playoffs. And the reality of the situation, guys, is that Aaron Rodgers is no longer a superstar quarterback, all right? If I had to stack up the quarterbacks in this league right now, I'd probably put him around the 20th spot. Now, maybe he's a couple spots higher than that. Maybe he's a couple spots lower than that. Give or take a couple spots here, but he's around the 20th best quarterback in the National Football League right now. And if you're going to win a title with the 20th best quarterback in the league, and you're going to beat the teams that have top 5 and top 10 level passers, you pretty much have to have a perfect surrounding cast around that quarterback to have a chance to win a Lombardi trophy. But the good news, guys, is that Pittsburgh's surrounding cast has a lot of potential. The Steelers have the potential on this roster for these things to click into place around Rodgers, where this team could be, fighting for a chance to win playoff games and maybe put themselves in contention to hoist a 7th Lombardi trophy by the time we get to February. First things first, I really like both new play callers here in Pittsburgh. Mike McCarthy, he could just produces top 10 offenses like they're nothing. I mean, you look at his career, I mean, most of his offenses throughout his career have been either top 10 or top 5. He's very rarely outside of those two worlds. And then Patrick Graham, I think, is an awesome upgrade over Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin, who I think we all agree kind of ran a more outdated scheme here in Pittsburgh. And I think Patrick Graham, somebody that has a reputation of getting the most out of his players, if he can do that here with this very talented Steelers roster, we could be looking at one of the better defenses in the league this year. Can take a look at the upgraded offense that the Pittsburgh Steelers have this year around Aaron Rodgers. I think there's a lot of really good talent on the offensive line. Fautano and McCormick are moving over to the left side. Zach Frazier still at center. Jennings Dunker, I think, has a decent chance to be the starting right guard this year, and we'll see whether Dylan Cook or Max Ihanicher wins the right tackle job. But I think Dylan Cook is a very solid starting tackle in this league. He's played right tackle before. Wouldn't mind it at all if he ends up being the starter this year. But then in the weapons, guys, I mean, much, much better. Like DK Metcalf is the constant here, but you bring in Michael Pittman Jr., huge upgrade at wide receiver too. I think Jeremy Bernard is going to be a really solid number 3 receiver, and I do think Roman Wilson will also contribute as a 4th receiver option in the slot as well. You got a really good tight end duo in Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, and you got a really solid running back duo as well, bringing in Rico Dowdle and pairing him up with Jaylen Warren, who's one of the best third down backs in the league. Then you get to the defensive side of the ball, and you've got some really good stuff. Like, you've got a defensive line that has so much talent on it. You've got really good edge rusher talent. You got really good depth on the interior now as well. You can rotate guys in and out and do some really good stuff on the defensive line. And, you can really get after quarterbacks and wreak havoc in that way. But then I also think you got good talent here at the inside linebacker position with Queen and Wilson, and hopefully Patrick Graham can get more out of these guys. I think that they were really put in some tough positions in the Tomlin and Austin system that really prevented them from showing what they could do. And both these guys are super talented physically. I'm really intrigued to see what they can do in this Patrick Graham defense. And then in the secondary, you got 2 corners that, can absolutely shut people down in man coverage, and Joey Porter Jr. and Jamel Dean, Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Elliott. They're going to be rotating guys all throughout here, where I think Ramsey will play some big nickel, Deshaun Elliott and Jaquan Brisker will play safety, and then sometimes they'll bring in Brandon Echols. I could even see them using Jalen Ramsey as almost like a sub-package linebacker as well. So they could do some really fun and creative things in the secondary as well. And guys, if these things all fall into place at the right time here, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to be an MVP caliber quarterback. He can just be a game manager, which we know that he can absolutely still do at a high level. He did that last year. He prevented sacks. He prevented, big time negative plays, prevented turnovers. He was efficient in the red zone, right? He was 11th in the league among passers with at least 300 pass attempts in passer rating, right? And that was with a bottom 3 wide receiver room. So I think Aaron Rodgers can absolutely still be an effective NFL starter. The Steelers just have to put, an excellent surrounding cast around him if they want to compete for a title this season. So coming up next here on the show, the other way that bringing back Aaron Rodgers can work out for this team. But before we get into the rest of today's show, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors on today's program, which is SeatGeek. The Steelers 2026 schedule is now officially set, and tickets for every Steelers game, home, away, and internationally this year is now available for purchase on the SeatGeek app. Use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your next set of Steelers tickets, and you guys can take a look at what you'll see when you go to the SeatGeek website here. Of course, the Steelers page, but you guys can really get some great deals on the season opener game against the Atlanta Falcons. You guys can see how many green dots are still available there on the Acrisure Stadium map that they have on the SeatGeek app, so you guys can go watch the black and gold versus the Dirty Birds in the season opener. And whether it's a baseball game at PNC Park with the kids or an Ed Sheeran concert with the wife, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a value scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Again, guys, look for the green dots. That means good value. Red obviously means bad value. And of course, I have a code for you guys to get an even better deal. Use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets with our friends at SeatGeek. One more time, that's 10% off any tickets with promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and to have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later on. And a big thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now, the second marker for success, if the Steelers can't find a way to compete this season, is that either Drew Aller or Will Howard, the guys that Aaron Rodgers will be mentoring this year, develops and becomes the next long-term answer at the QB1 spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, Rodgers' mentorship, I think, is a big reason why he's coming back, because the Steelers, I think, really do have positive feelings about Will Howard and Drew Aller as talents, and they believe with Rodgers' mentorship and then the coaching from Mike McCarthy and his staff is going to be enough to get the most out of these young passers, especially Drew Aller, and they think that Aller, with his incredible arm talent, has a chance to develop into a legitimate NFL starter here in Pittsburgh after a year to sit and learn and develop behind a four-time NFL MVP and maybe the world's leading expert in how to play quarterback in the Mike McCarthy offense in Aaron Rodgers. And I think what kind of Rodgers being brought back this year kind of points to, because obviously with Rodgers back, they don't plan on playing Will Howard or Drew Aller this year, right? So they're not going to find out if these guys can play this year, and they know that. I think the only reason why they would do that is if really they feel like these guys can be, at least one of them can be their long-term starting quarterback option heading into 2027 and beyond. And yes, drafting a quarterback early in 2027 remains an option, right? Maybe there's just a quarterback that they just absolutely fall in love with, that they want to go out and get. And maybe Drew Aller, maybe his work habits aren't that great. Maybe he's not picking up the footwork. Maybe he's not looking good in practices this year behind the scenes. And, their belief in him being a future starter in this league kind of wanes by the time we get to that point next year. However, I think if Pittsburgh wanted or needed to quote-unquote see what Will Howard and Drew Aller have this year, I think they'd be playing, plain and simply. They'd be embracing those two younger quarterback options in preparation to potentially take a quarterback in 2027. Instead, they're going with Rodgers, which tells me that they definitely have a developmental track for these two younger quarterback options. And I think Big Mike McCarthy prefers the quote-unquote Green Bay method here, where you have an established veteran quarterback that is a great mentor and all these great things and high-end football mind, and you have a young quarterback working behind that veteran quarterback, and then when it's their time to shine, they're prepared for it, right? We see so many teams in the National Football League rush these young quarterbacks out onto the field, and they're not ready for it. The Steelers aren't making that same mistake, and they believe giving these young quarterbacks time will prepare them for their chance when it eventually gets here. And I really could see, guys, a true quarterback competition here in Pittsburgh in 2027. I think that the Steelers really do like Will Howard at least a little bit, and I think they do believe in Drew Aller. You don't draft Drew Aller in round 3 if you don't believe in him at least a little bit. So I could absolutely see us going into 2027 saying we got two young quarterbacks on the team. We're going to see which one of these two guys plays better throughout the offseason program heading into the year. And right now, if I had to bet on one of these guys winning that competition, the betting favorite should be Drew Aller, in my opinion. I think he's got higher upside. I think he's got better arm talent. Obviously, the Steelers spent a higher draft pick on him, and that does matter in these kinds of decisions. I think Will Howard will have to show he's clearly better than Drew Aller to win that job in 2027. But right now, based on the behavior of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're clearly sending the message. We believe in Drew Aller, and we think he's going to be our starting quarterback in 2027. So who do you guys think is the better prospect? Type WH for Will Howard or DA for Drew Aller. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our presenting sponsor here on Steelers Talk, which is Prize Picks. While I do that, I'll make sure you let me know between Will Howard and Drew Aller, who do you think has the better chance of being this team's next QB1? And with that, let's have word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks, which is America's #1 sports picks app. Playoff basketball is still here, guys, but it won't be around forever, and there's no better place to cash in during the playoff season with our friends at Prize Picks. The app is really easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. You can even look ahead to next year's football season here with stat projections on sacks for edge rushers like Myles Garrett, or passing yards for quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, or receiving yards for receivers like Jeremy Bernard. And in this particular projection, I can win a $95 on a $20 entry fee if I get all three correct in what Prize Picks calls a power play. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now shifting our focus here to Mike McCarthy, the new Steelers head coach, and the first marker for success for him, in my opinion, is if he can win at least one Super Bowl while he is the head coach of this team. And what a story that would be, by the way, man. Somebody that grew up in Greenville Avenue can actually look at his hometown, from his office as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If he can deliver a championship for the team that he grew up rooting for, that would be one hell of a story, man. If it's this year with Aaron Rodgers, that's even more of an incredible story. One of the greatest stories in the history of the National Football League, in my opinion. But obviously, if he's unable to accomplish that and he leaves the Steelers as this team's head coach without a Super Bowl ring on his finger, he won't be continuing that legacy since the Super Bowl era of every single head coach winning at least one Super Bowl for this team. Obviously, Chuck Noll winning 4, then you have Bill Cowher winning 1, and same thing goes for Mike Tomlin. I can guarantee you Mike McCarthy doesn't want to end his Steelers tenure as the only coach in the Super Bowl era here in Pittsburgh to not win a championship. But then the other marker for success, in my opinion, guys, is if he delivers Pittsburgh its next franchise quarterback before he leaves the organization. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl here, but he delivers, the next star quarterback here in Pittsburgh, I would still consider this tenure of his a general success. And hopefully, the next guy can come in here and win that Super Bowl with that new star quarterback that McCarthy ended up delivering. And I think this is exactly why Mike was brought in, to foster some of these young talents. And I think they do have a plan in place for both Drew Aller and Will Howard for one of these guys to get that shot down the road. And we'll see if one of these guys, takes that opportunity by the horns and in the years to come. And maybe they end up drafting somebody next year, right? Maybe Mike's guy isn't on the team right now, and they end up drafting, Julian Sayin or Dante Moore, or Lenora Sellers, or Sam Levitt, or any of these guys that could be coming out in the NFL draft next year. I think probably getting Arch Manning might be a little bit too presumptuous there. I think he's probably going to go number 1 next year, and I don't think the Steelers are going to be anywhere close to the number 1 pick. But, we'll see how things play out in the years to come, and I really think that if McCarthy can deliver that next franchise quarterback here in Pittsburgh, at the end of the day, this tenure of his is going to be a success. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Do you believe Mike McCarthy will deliver Pittsburgh its next great quarterback? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section to let me know what you guys think, and that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. If you guys like in-depth videos on interesting Steelers topics like we did today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, because this is what we provide you guys every single day for free on this channel. So if you enjoyed today's show, make sure you guys click that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, we got one more segment to go. We have our mailbag coming up next. So again, guys, hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. And then we'll have our next Madden sim that's coming up here momentarily. But Marco Man with a 5 says, have you seen Todd Monken say he's embarrassed by his guys throwing picks during 7-on-7 drills and having to stop practices to reteach fundamentals? I love it, man. The Cleveland Browns are always going to be the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, man, that quarterback room is a joke. So, yeah, I think that, the Browns will be last in the division this year. I do believe that. And I think that Todd Monken will probably be short-lived. He might even be a 1-year and done. Like, they might not even have Myles Garrett on the team this year. He has not shown up to anything in terms of that. So, are you redoing this one? You're changing it to 250, or why the 158? Oh, okay, cool. Sounds good. Still got 370 people watching live around the world. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today. And we're getting closer and closer to our boot number. Of course, I got my brother Joe, who's flown in from Minnesota. He just finished up his college baseball season, and he told me he wants to do a boot. So let's get that. Let's make that happen here. We need $137 more to go here. We've already made 113, so we're 137 away from doing a boot at the end of the show here with brother Joseph. So make his wish come true here, guys. Get those questions in, get those super chats in. I greatly appreciate all of your guys' support.
This is looking like you can get on with hashtag Steelers right now, because I do have some supers, but need some more questions. All
right, so put a two-minute shot clock on.
All right.
There's not many times, guys, where you guys have the opportunity to get on the show with hashtag Steelers. It's usually super chat only mailbags, but it sounds like today it's a good opportunity where if you're not a super chatter, and by the way, that's perfectly okay. All we care about is that you love talking Steelers football with us. This is a good opportunity to get your voice heard on the show. So hashtag Steelers or super chat to get on the Q&A.
Of course, we appreciate all your support. Obviously,
did you press play on the?
Yeah, I'm getting it right now.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
All good.
And obviously, good to be happier here. Just want more support from all y'all. Love all the support.
Hey.
Yeah.
We can interrupt the show.
All right.
Oh, look at this.
Special addition to the Wall of Fame.
Oh my gosh.
Move aside so we show the people.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So producer Coop is presenting me with my Wall of Fame jersey here. If you guys aren't familiar, we have a Wall of Fame here at Chat Sports Studios where every channel with 100,000 subscribers or more has their own jersey, and we've been waiting for this for a while. We passed 100,000 back in October, and it was on October 12th, and now it's here.
Lucky number 7.
We got the Big Ben number, man. Number 7. It's as a certain president likes to say, it's glorious. It's absolutely beautiful.
Which president is that?
I'm not going to say.
I don't know who it is.
This is a non-political show, Coop, okay?
I will tell you the delay if you want. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, you can hear me.
So wanted to wait until we got multiple because you guys send them all once
Yeah.
to get framed, and then they sent us 3 incorrect Warriors jerseys in a row. Just said Warriors. One said Warriors Day, the wrong number, just do them in order, and then finally got the third one. So that's like one sent them in January,
Yeah.
came in April, the right one, and so sent them, and then a guy just
All right.
they're ready, so I went after
I appreciate you, boss. Thank you so
Super
much.
Bowl 7 coming soon.
Yeah, Super Bowl 7 coming soon here. We got 6 trophies. We need to get the 7th now to match our jersey. So, man, that's cool. I've been waiting for that jersey for a while. We were expecting it to be here around the draft, but it was a little bit of a delay. But now it's finally here, and I can't thank you guys enough for all the support that you guys have given us here over the last several years. We're now approaching 120,000 subscribers, so we're continuing to grow. We're the largest Steelers news program anywhere on YouTube, and I can't thank you guys enough for allowing us to be able to do what we love to do every day, and that's talk Steelers football. So
I was stalling, by the way. We do have enough questions.
Okay, we have enough questions. So let's get into the mailbag right now before we get into our next Madden sim. Still got over 360 people watching live, but we're only 3 likes away from 200 likes. So if we can get to 200 likes, that would be fantastic, guys. But in the meantime, let's get into our next segment here, which, of course, is your questions on the Steelers Talk Mailbag. You are watching Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, of course, and today it is my favorite segment of the week. I'm answering your questions on the Black and Gold on the weekly Steelers Talk Mailbag. Now, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already to join the most interactive Steelers fan community anywhere here on YouTube, and I promise we do know how to spell interactive, F. Ponzi down there in the chat. But we are, live twice a week. We get you guys 2 Steelers videos every single day, and we're going to be live for every single Steelers game this year like we are every single year with our watch parties, and we give you guys the opportunity to have a voice on this channel with the weekly mailbag. So if you guys want to join us for our live shows, feel free to click that subscribe button and make sure you guys get the best Steelers content you guys can find here on YouTube. $5 from Marco Mans here says, have you seen Todd Monken saying he's embarrassed by his guys in the Browns throwing picks during 7-on-7 drills and having to stop practices to reteach fundamentals? Man, the Browns are going to be the Browns, man, and I'm not even sure if Myles Garrett is going to be back this year. He apparently hasn't even had a discussion with Todd Monken. It seems like he's not too happy that Jim Schwartz didn't get the head coaching job there in Cleveland this offseason. But I love it, man. I love the fact that they're moving forward with no good quarterback options this year. Deshaun Watson sucks. Shadur Sanders sucks. Dylan Gabriel sucks. And that's going to really limit what that team can be, just like it has over the last several seasons. So, no, I don't think they'll be good. I think there's a decent chance, even though the Steelers, when they have to play the Browns, it's 2 kind of unadvantageous kind of situations. It's a short week with Thursday night, and then they have to play them at home coming back from France. But even then, I still think there's a decent chance the Steelers could sweep them. Always seems like the Browns, find a way to weasel a win against us, though. So hopefully, under new management, that won't be the case. $5 from Holden Monroe says, could you outline what we can expect to see different with Mike McCarthy's offense versus what we have seen over the last year or so? What interests you? Well, I think the bones of it are going to be pretty similar. I think that you're still going to see a lot of quick game. You're going to see a lot of shotgun. It's going to be more centered around the passing game than the run game. Just kind of like it was down the stretch last year. It really became Aaron Rodgers' offense, midway through the season onward. I think that the core tenets of the West Coast offense, so to speak, will still be there. And Rodgers is going to run the offense that he likes, plain simply. But I think McCarthy will have a bigger focus on throwing the ball vertically, which is really his calling card. He loves to throw the ball down the field, pushing the ball down the field. We saw that in the Tex Coast offense when he was at Dallas with Dak Prescott. We saw it with Rodgers in the earlier years there in Green Bay. I expect to see something similar this year, especially because the Steelers have better downfield weapons this year compared to last year. So I think that will be a much bigger part of this offense than it was last year. I still think that the quick concepts and the screens and the short passes will still be a part of Aaron Rodgers' game this year, but I think the downfield passes will be more frequent and be more efficient when they decide to do that. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference in what we'll see from Mike McCarthy. $5 from Hunter Dillman says, where do you see the Steelers being strongest versus weakest this season? And what areas of the roster concern versus excite you the most? I'll tell you this, man. I'm very excited about the defense. Patrick Graham, I've been a big admirer of his for years. I've always thought that he has taken some really bad defensive rosters and has gotten the most out of those rosters. And now he's going into a situation here in Pittsburgh where he's getting by far the most talent he's ever had to work with. And he's got a really, really talented group, man. They made some really good additions to the defensive line. Sebastian Joseph Day. They added Jamel Dean at corner, Jaquan Brisker at safety, and they already had a ton of talent. The D-line and the pass rush is as deep as any pass rush in the National Football League. And I think Patrick Graham is a very creative defensive mind. I think that this team has the upside to be the best defense in football, but obviously Patrick Graham needs to earn his stripes, and this team needs to execute on that potential. So I'm really excited about that. In terms of weaknesses, I would say, the right side of the offensive line is a pretty big question mark right now. And if you're looking for a question mark on the defensive side of the ball, I would say the linebacking group of Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb, Malik Harrison. I'm intrigued by that group because Queen was a former All-Pro when he wasn't in Mike Tomlin's defense, and Peyton Wilson is super talented physically. So I'm excited to see what they can do in a new defense that's not putting them in positions to fail. But I would say that's still probably the biggest question mark on the Steelers defense. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Do the Steelers have any chance at winning a Super Bowl this year? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. Yes, if you think they have a 1% chance at least to win a championship, or no, if you think that this is, bringing back Aaron Rodgers back and all this stuff, it's just useless to do it at this point. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. And before we get to the rest of your questions today, let's have a word from our presenting sponsor here at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Playoff basketball is still here, but it won't be around forever, and there's no better place to cash in during the playoff season with our friends at Prize Picks. The app is really easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well, with a number of different stat projections to choose from with those sports to truly customize your daily fantasy lineups. You can even look ahead to next year's football season here with stats like sacks for edge rushers like Myles Garrett, or passing yards for quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, or receiving yards for rookie receiver Jeremy Bernard or DK Metcalf or any other receiver you want. So you guys can download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app, and a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. $2 from Bernard says, do you think A-Rod will be benched mid-season? Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. I mean, this team is going to have to legitimately, suck for them to want to bench Aaron Rodgers towards the end of the season. And honestly, it'll be more towards the last quarter of the season as opposed to mid-season. Unless Rodgers is just playing really bad and they think Will Howard is playing better than him at practice or something like that. I really don't see that being a realistic possibility, Bernard. Ollie the Reaper says, what's the salary cap now, Jack and Ponzi? I'm not exactly sure where all that is at because it's a little bit in limbo because they obviously signed Aaron Rodgers to that $22 million contract with the incentives to get it up to 25. And at the time they made that contract happen, they had I think $13 million in available cap. So they have to move money around, and we haven't seen the moves that they're planning on making when it comes to that just yet. So at least at the time of me recording this video. So I don't have a good answer for that right now, Ollie the Reaper, but make sure you check in with us here because when those moves happen, those restructures happen, the money moves around, we're going to make sure to get you guys coverage of that. Kevin Reed says, do you think they trade for another piece before training camp, position, and player? The answer to the question is no, probably not in terms of a trade. Maybe they bring in a free agent of some variety, but I really doubt we're going to see a Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith-esque trade in July. I think that this team is pretty well built as it currently stands. I don't think that there's really any positions that they need to go out and make a big trade at. Maybe they make an addition here or there in free agency with vet minimum type deals, but really don't think they're going to trade for another player. Then Bernard says, how good will the O-line be? And that really is a big question. That's one of the bigger question marks, in my opinion, because I like the group. I like Troy Fautano moving over to the left side, and, he played there in college, was awesome there. Then Mason McCormick played at left guard in college. He's moving back over there. And, you do have some interesting options at right guard and right tackle, but, they're big question marks, right? If you play the rookies, Jennings, Dunker, and Maxi Honicher at those spots, how good are they right away? And if you go with the veterans like Spencer Anderson or Brock Hoffman or Dylan Cook, how good are those guys, right? And how good do Fautano and McCormick play shifting positions again? There's a lot of different question marks here surrounding this O-line. And, playing in the AFC North, as we know, the O-line is huge, right? You got to be able to move the line of scrimmage. You got to protect the quarterback, especially if your quarterback can't really, move and extend plays anymore. Aaron Rodgers certainly is a non-mobile pocket passer at this point. So, the potential is certainly here for the O-line. Lots of high draft picks, lots of talent, a lot of potential here for this to be a really, really good group. But there's also the potential for this group to not be ready to take that ascension to that top 10, top 5 group in the league kind of level. So I guess we'll just see how it plays out. But definitely a big question mark heading into the year. Now, before we get into the rest of your questions here, make sure you click that thumbs up icon. And the real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon really help us out. Because it tells the YouTube algorithm that Steelers fans are watching our videos and that they're enjoying them and that they should recommend it to other Steelers fans on this platform. So if you guys want to help expand the channel, get new eyes on the channel, all that different stuff, make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. Logan Fligman says, where do you think our offense and defense will rank this season? And obviously, nobody knows the answer to this question right now because, especially for a team like the Steelers with so much new stuff, right? You add multiple starting receivers and the offensive line is getting shifted around and you have 2 new coordinators and a new scheme on both sides of the ball. You have new pieces on defense. It's really hard to project, teams that have this much new inside the organization. I'll tell you where I think their upside is on both sides of the ball. I think on offense, the upside is, probably borderline top 10, maybe just inside the top 10, somewhere around the top 8, I think is probably the highest point that I could see this offense getting to this year under Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback. And then defensively, I think their ceiling is they could be the best defense in football. And if you can do that, if you can find a way to have best case scenario both on offense and defense, that's the recipe of a team that looks a lot like the Seattle Seahawks last year, right? Where you have a good offense and an elite defense. And, that's kind of the path that the Steelers are hoping to take to try and compete for a Super Bowl this year. But obviously there's a lot of range there and a lot of floor beneath that ceiling that the Steelers have set on both sides of the ball. So we'll see what happens. JT Clover says, if this team crashes and fails to even win 10 games, what position group would be at fault first? So, wait, are you saying that winning 10 games would be crashing and failing? I honestly don't think that would be a crash and fail. Obviously, it'd be frustrating. What's that? Fail to even win 10 games. Well, even 9 wins is not crazy crash and failing. For me, this question is asking what happens if they win 5 or 6 games or less, right? And if that happens, I think a big part of it will be the offensive line. just not, catching on fast enough with the younger pieces. I think, part of it will have to do with injuries. Quarterback will probably play a part in it. Like if Aaron Rodgers just refuses to throw the ball down the field like everybody thinks he is at this point, like he could hold this team back. And the defense, right? If the defense underperforms again, that'll be a big reason why as well. But honestly, man, unless there's a lot of injuries, I really think the chances of this team winning 5 or 6 games is really low. I think the floor is very, very high with this year's Steelers team. And I think at the very least they win like 8 games. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. How many wins do you think the Steelers get this season? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. My current projection is 11 wins for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've won 10 games the last 3 years, and I think this is the best Steelers team that we've had over that span. So I think that the 11 wins is a reasonable expectation for this team. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. What you guys think, and of course make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We do these mailbags where I answer your questions every single week right here on the channel. So if you guys want to get your question on a future edition of Steelers Talk, make sure you join us on our live shows, usually on Thursdays, where we do these mailbags live. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, segments are done. Out of the way, now it's time to have some fun with our Madden simulation. Whenever Ponzi gets that ready for us. Of course, today's simulation is Week 3 versus the Pussycats, the Cincinnati Bengals. Actually, this game is going to be played on my birthday, so hopefully the Steelers can give me a nice birthday present. It's one of the reasons why, I mean, it obviously has no bearing on the game. It's just a vibes thing, but like because it's on my birthday, it does make me feel like the Steelers are going to win this game, especially because, early in the season, the Bengals tend to really stink. Under Zach Taylor, they usually get off to really slow starts. Oh, no way. Did you see this?
What happened?
Some NFL news here.
Oh, yeah.
The Giants and Joe Shane have agreed to terms on a multi-year extension. He sucks.
He stinks.
What are we doing, Mara
also, this
family?
This is a terrible time for Marsh. There's a Knicks game tonight.
That's crazy, man. Our Giants host, Marshall Green, one of my groomsmen in my wedding, actually, great guy, hates Joe Shane. So that I'm guessing he is just crashing out right before the Knicks play tonight. But just so you guys know, the results so far in our Madden season, the Falcons unfortunately beat us in the season opener in a game the Steelers clearly played better. I mean, Tua and the Falcons didn't even score a touchdown that game.
They did not.
It was a blocked punt touchdown. Is the only time they scored in that game.
And we got 2 picks.
And we lost. It's just ridiculous. But then week 2, if you were watching on Tuesday, craziest Madden game I've ever seen. 3 separate game-winning scores in 15 seconds in the fourth quarter. Rodgers delivering a 4th and 21 with the game on the line for a touchdown. Rodgers delivering another 4th and 10 with the game on the line in the red zone for a touchdown. And then a defensive pass interference with 2 seconds left on the clock on a Hail Mary attempt puts the Steelers in field goal range to win it. Just a crazy game. And now, obviously, I mean, Ponzi, you're the only one that's seen this. I have no idea. Is this another crazy one, or are we going to have to wait and see?
We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to give away anything.
All right. I guess we'll have to wait and see here. But right now, the Steelers' record in our simulated season is 1-1. Okay, so hopefully the Steelers can improve to 2-1 with a win over Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Still got over 320 people watching live. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today. We are 2 likes away from 250 likes, by the way. So if you guys want to click that thumbs up icon, I would greatly appreciate it.
Having some technical difficulties here. Sorry.
Ponzi's trying to get the game up on our TV.
It's not working right now, man.
So just bear with us here as Ponzi tries to get this.
There we go.
Get this thing on screen for us. But man, I'll tell you this. I think
good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as we've discussed on this channel, that the possibility for this team to be a title contender exists. But I also think it's important to acknowledge that, like, it's not a sure thing. You have to have multiple things click in place, and, the puzzle pieces need to fit in order for this team, led by what I would consider, like, probably the 20th best quarterback in football, to a championship, like they got to be pretty fucking special around that quarterback to be able to get that job done, right?
I mean, they did their part, kind of.
Yeah, and I think that the front office did a good enough job giving this team enough potential to be able to, make that a possibility. Bringing in the new receivers, still having a good tight end and running back duo. The offensive line has a ton of talent on it. Defense has a ton of talent on it. The potential is there. It's about this coaching staff now getting the most out of this group. And we'll see in the coming months if they're successful in doing that. But now let's get into our next Madden sim here. At home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. It looks like the Steelers are going to be kicking off here to start this game. Actually, I was just playing Joe in a Madden game yesterday. Absolutely destroyed him. I think, what was it, Joe? 6 touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers in the first half, and he rage quitted. It was good. Yeah, Muth had 3 touchdowns, and the kick is away. It's fielded at the 5-yard line. There's a nice little juke move, but he's not going to get much further than that to the 24, and here comes Joe Burrow. Now, Ponzi, you weren't here for last year's first Bengals stream, but Joe Burrow in last year's game, in the first game, only had 1 incompletion the entire game.
That's just Madden.
Because he had the X factor, and he completed 3 passes in a row or whatever, and once his X factor is lit up, he literally did not miss a pass the rest of the game. So hopefully the Steelers can get after him here. First down and 10.
I did adjust the sliders to make it the realistic sliders, so we'll see.
Okay. Now Burrow will throw the little drag route to T. Higgins, and ball's out! Ball's out! Steelers pick it up, and there he goes! Malik Harrison to the crib! Touchdown, Steelers! Who's 32? Robert Spears Jennings, the rookie out of Oklahoma, picks up the ball, and the Steelers kick this thing off with a fumble recovered for a touchdown. Man, this Madden season is electric so far. First play of the game, fumble recovery for a touchdown. Boz puts it up and good. 7-0 Steelers. And guess what? Steelers get the ball to start the second half. We're already got a 7-point advantage at home. It's a great start. Type those TDs in the chat. Let me see them TDs. Let's go. Joe Burrow's just pissed on that sideline. T. Higgins catching a 5-yard drag and then fumbling the ball. And then a 7th-round rookie, Robert Spears Jennings, picking it up, taking it to the house. You said it was the realistic sliders, Ponzi. I don't think Robert Spears Jennings hitting the field this year, but I'll take it. Kicks away, and it's fielded at the 4, and the return man will take it to around the 26, and that is where the Bengals will take over yet again. T. Higgins is back in the locker room crying. Never mind, he's in the huddle. All right. Brian Walker, Eric Brown, Seville putting their TDs in the chat. And it looks like they're going to run the ball here. They don't want T. Higgins to touch this football. Heavy formation for Cincy. Burrow will take the snap and hand it off to Chase Brown. He'll go nowhere. Stonewalled at the 26. 2nd down and 10 coming up. That was Samaje Perine, by the way, not Chase Brown. Why do they not have their number 1 running back out there to start the game? Makes no sense. Burrow will go into the shotgun, 2 high safeties for Pittsburgh. 3 receiver set, takes the snap, looking. He's going to get to his check down. Nobody is on Chase Brown, and he is going to pick up a first down and then some. Gets to the 42-yard line. I don't know what the hell that was, Ponzi, but no one was guarding the running back. It'll be a first down for the Cincinnati Bengals. Shotgun here, spread formation, 2-by-2. Burrow will take the snap. He's looking. He will throw to a little curl route. It's caught for another first down. Gets to the 47-yard line of the Steelers. For those of you that haven't watched our Madden Sims to this point, yes, you can't swap out the head coach. So Mike Tomlin is the head coach on the sideline for the Steelers, but we have adjusted the playbooks so that it's the McCarthy offense and the Patrick Graham defense. under center here in a condensed look. It's going to be double play action, and Burrow's just going to dump it off to Jamar Chase. He's got room. He makes one man miss, makes another guy miss, and gets down to the 31-yard line. Looks like Robert Spears-Jennings is out there again, Ponzi. Come on, Ponzi. You got it.
I have Deshaun Elliott starting.
What is going on?
I guess it's doing like a slot, like a...
Are they playing him at nickel?
Are they doing it like a sub? Because Deshaun Elliott should be out there.
I don't know, man.
Is he still out there?
No, he's not. You got shotgun here for Burrow. Play action. Dumps it off. Did he catch it? Nope. Incomplete. Good pass break up there by Peyton Wilson. Be second down and 10 here. Jay Seja says, this is giving me PTSD of Chase. Of course, Jamar Chase absolutely toasted the Steelers secondary in the first game against the Bengals last year. Play action for Burrow's going to dump it off quickly and incomplete. Tried to go Drew Sample, the tight end. It was broken up. Third down and 10 coming up. Type those threes. Type those threes in the chat. Let's get off the field. Let's maintain this lead. Force a field goal attempt here. 2 high safeties for Pittsburgh defensively. Looks like Robert Spears-Jennings still out there. I guess we have a Deshaun Elliott injury this week. Now pressure on Burrow. He's going to launch it towards the end zone. Incomplete. Good coverage there by the Steelers. And it'll be fourth down and 10 coming up. Field goal attempt incoming.
You know what? I just realized this. It said that the Steelers took a timeout on the kickoff. I think that was an injury timeout.
Oh, so Deshaun Elliott got injured.
Yeah, so he's out.
All right, so Deshaun Elliott out with an injury. Got injured on the opening kickoff. So Robert Spears-Jennings takes his place. Field goal is up and good. 7-3 is the score. Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers about to hit the field for the first time offensively. Evan McPherson, one of the best kickers in the National Football League. Not as good as Boz. Not as good as Boz, but, pretty solid. Is that Alex Highsmith I see back there? Returning kicks? I mean, I guess, Ponzi, if Alex Highsmith is returning this kick, I got to really question you here, man. But now Caden Weegan takes it out, and he's going to get to the 21. Aaron Rodgers pumped up to already have a lead. And Rodgers has been pretty good, Ponzi. He was a big reason why the Steelers won that game versus the Patriots. A 4th and 21 conversion for a touchdown with the game on the line, and then followed that up with a 4th and 10 conversion for a touchdown with the game on the line. Rodgers was pretty awesome against the Patriots. And now they'll start in a heavy formation with multiple tight ends. Looks like Jaylen Warren is the back with DK Metcalf, the lone receiver, out to the right. Handoff is to Warren. Not much push, and he's going to get no gain. Throughout this early portion of the Madden season, Ponzi, it's not been a great run-blocking offensive line. Like, they haven't had a ton of success running the ball. It's been mostly Rodgers in the pass game that has been moving the ball the most. Once again, 13 personnel. And it's going to be play action. Rodgers throws it quickly to Darnell, and there he goes. He's got some room out there. Jukes a man at 300 pounds plus, and he gets down to the 33. Mount Washington with the Steelers. First down. Let's go. What's that? Oh, okay. First down and 10. Once again, heavy formation of multiple tight ends. Hand it off. There's a big hole for Jaylen Warren to take advantage of. And he'll pick up a decent gain. Gets all the way down to the 47. First down, Steelers. Let's go. Good start for the Steelers offense here, picking up a few first downs. Once again, they're going to go out with multiple tight ends. Looks like Riley Nowakowski is in there at the fullback position. They're going to hand it off to Jaylen Warren. He will pick up 3 yards and a modest gain on first. Second down and 7 coming up. Boye Mafe, the new addition for the Bengals at the edge rusher position. Super Bowl champion for the Seattle Seahawks. Brings down Warren. And now shotgun for Rodgers. 3 receiver set. Takes the snap. Hand off to Warren. Look at the hole for Warren to use right there. Pause. Gets down to the 44-yard line, 3rd down and 1. Joey's looking at me crazy right now. 3rd down and 1 coming up here for Raji and the offense. They're going to go out in heavy personnel again. No receivers on the field. QB sneak. Rodgers takes it for a first. What's crazy, Joe, is that they'll run QB draw with him because it's technically the Cowboys offense. Once again, condensed formation for the Steelers. Under center is Rodgers. Takes the snap, 3-step drop, quick slant to DK. He's going to pick up a 1st down and then some. Gets down to the Bengals 31. 1st down, Steelers. Nice methodical drive put together by Raji and crew. Once again, Rodgers has this offense working pretty well. Empty formation, 3-by-2, takes the snap, going to throw into a spot, almost gets it picked off, incomplete. Not the best throw from Rodgers. 2nd down and 10. Who was that player that he threw to? It's like, I thought it was like number 22 or something.
I went off the roster for him. A.T. Perry.
Oh, why is he
like
in?
29.
Under center, it's going to be a jet sweep to Michael Pittman, who's going to get just a few yards.
According to Madden ratings, he is wide receiver 5.
All right, 3rd down and 7 coming up. A guy that might not make the team, wide receiver 5. Nice. Shotgun here for Rodgers, 3rd and long. Multiple receivers, got a bunch and a nasty split out to the left. Takes the snap. Rodgers looking, he's got time, throws, and it's intercepted. Terrible decision. I think he tried to go to A.T. Perry again. F. Ponzi in the chat for these sliders. What the hell? What the hell, man? Where's Jeremy Bernard? He's been awesome all season. Said we have to watch A.T. Perry.
Yeah, he's there. He was there on that play.
Bernard was there on that play?
Yeah.
Oh.
Roman Wilson is wide receiver 4, too.
This is crazy, dude. Madden just effing us here.
Madden substitutions.
Shotgun here for Burrow. That sucks, too, because the Steelers were driving. They could have taken control of this game. Now Burrow will throw quickly to Chase, and he'll just get a short gain of about 4 yards. Patrick Queen on the tackle. Rodgers is like, what the hell are you doing? Somebody ran the wrong route. That'll be the end of the first quarter. 7-3, Steelers lead. Steelers got their touchdown on a fumble recovered on the first play of the game, returned for a touchdown by rookie Robert Spears-Jennings. And now shotgun for Burrow. Trips right, takes the snap, looking. They blitz. Now they're going to go screen, perfectly timed. Now he's going to make one man miss, and now Chase Brown takes us to the 30-yard line. Good gain for the Bengals receiver. DK Metcalf not too happy on the Steelers sideline after that interception. And now shotgun for Burrow. 3 receiver set, takes the snap, we'll hand it off to Brown. And he's not going to go far, just a gain of 1. Good run defense by the Steelers. Come on, man. This game is actually going to be played on my birthday, so it'd be great if the Steelers could give me a birthday present here. Shotgun for Burrow. Takes the snap. Now he's looking to scramble. Now he gets rid of it just in time to his check down, which is Chase Brown. He will pick up 3 yards, and it'll be 3rd down and 6. Type those threes. Let's get off the field here. Steelers usually like to send pressure in these 3rd and long situations, at least if this Madden simulated season is any indication. They got multiple bodies at the line of scrimmage. They could blitz some of these guys. Condensed formation for Burrow. Man in motion before the snap. They send a 4-man rush. Burrow looking to run himself, and he's got a lot of room. And he's to the 50, to the 40, and he gets all the way down to the 36-yard line. Steelers didn't account anybody for Burrow, and he takes it all the way into Steelers territory. They got a chance to take the lead here, man. Defense had a chance to get off the field. Instead, looks like Cincy's in position to score more points. Under center, 2-by-2 formation, 3 receivers on the field. They're going to send Chase in motion, double play action. Now they're going to get to Chase wide open, nobody on him. Makes a man miss, and Chase is going to take this down to the 22. Come on, defense. Get a stop. This defense gave up 34 points in the game against Drake May and the Patriots. And they're giving up quite a few yards here to the Burrow Bengals early on in this one. Under center is Burrow. Multiple tight ends. Takes the snap. Handoff. This is Pirine, and he will not go far. Just a gain of 2. Looks like Asante Samuel Jr. is out there playing. I don't know what the hell these sliders are, Ponzi, but like all these backups are playing. Shotgun here. Trips right. Takes the snap. They send a linebacker blitz. It's going to be a quick throw. Just dinking and dunking all day long to Jamar Chase. He gets 3 yards. So it'll be 3rd down and 7 coming up. 3rd down and 7 coming up. Type those 3s. If we stop them to a field goal here, at least we'll still have the lead. Type those 3s. Let's go. They go empty for Burrow. Takes the snap. They send 4. Burrow will throw. On an in-cut, it's dropped. It would have been almost a for sure 1st down if the intended receiver would have caught it, but the Steelers catch a break. It is dropped, and the Bengals will likely have to kick a field goal yet again as it's 4th and long. They will send McPherson out there, try to make this a 1-score ball game, or a 1-point ball game, I should say. Kick is up, and it is good. 7-6. Is the score at Acrisure Stadium. Steelers have a little bit over 3 minutes to go here to put points on the board before halftime. And, of course, the Steelers get the ball to start the second half. So if the Steelers can double dip here, Ponzi, score a touchdown, and there's Alex Highsmith back there again for some reason. And now McPherson boots it away. And it's going to be fielded by Weegan at the 5, and he's going to be taking it to the 24. Plenty of time for Rodgers and the Steelers offense to get something cooking here before half. Of course, it was a pretty decent drive in terms of moving the football. Last time around, it ended in a silly interception. Oh, no, Jeremy Bernard is number 23. What the hell, Ponzi? Shotgun. Hand off to Warren. Look at the hole for Warren, and he's going to pick up big yardage. Gets it down to the 39. Jalen Warren having the best rushing performance from a running back for the Steelers this year. It's not even close, honestly. The offensive line starting to find their groove. And now condensed formation, heavy formation. Going to take the snap, 3-step drop. Rodgers throws quickly to an out route to DK. It's going to be caught for a gain of 5. Clock stops as DK runs out of bounds. Under center, I formation, 5-step drop for Rodgers. Quick dump off, and it's dropped by Riley Nowakowski, the fullback. Rookie out of Indiana. 5th-round pick, and now it's 3rd down and 5. Don't want to give Burrow and the Bengals the ball back here. You want to extend this drive, get it to the 2-minute warning. They go empty with Rodgers and a big play here in the first half. He takes the snap. He's looking. He's going to throw, and it's going to be complete. That is smooth with a 1st down. Big-time completion. Yeah, Joey says we got to score. I agree. 2-minute warning. Steelers in Bengal territory now at their 47. Rodgers under center again, takes the snap, hands it off to Warren, and he's going to try and make a move, and he's only going to get 1 yard. You know what this looks like to me, Ponzi? This looks like the Arthur Smith playbook. Because there's a lot of heavy personnel. It's a lot of under center.
It is not, though.
Oh, okay.
Because you have to play the first play of the game, unless you have to restart it. And I had to restart it like 4 times.
Okay. Shotgun here for Rodgers. Takes the snap. He's got time. Now he's going to throw short. It's caught by Muth, it looks like, for a decent gain. 3rd down and manageable coming up for Pittsburgh. Got a minute 31 as Muth goes out of bounds, so the clock stops. Roman says, so your birthday is September 27th. It is my birthday on September 27th. So week 3 this year, we'll be celebrating my birthday on a watch party. Shotgun here for Rodgers. Takes the snap. He's got time. Throws. It's going to be complete for a 1st down. Who is this? Jeremy Bernard? There he is. Jeremy. F. Ponzi in the chat for him wearing 23 for some reason, but guess he's Dalen Everett out there making a big play at wide receiver. But Jeremy Bernard, who's been huge these first few weeks in this Madden sim, gets a big 1st down conversion there. 3-step drop. Rodgers has nothing. Now he throws over the middle. He's caught. And it's going to be DK Metcalf down to the 10-yard line. 1st down, Steelers. Looked like Rodgers' first read wasn't there. He had to adjust in the pocket as Rodgers gives us a discount double check. Clock continues to tick. 30 seconds left. Mike McCarthy deciding not to use any of his timeouts here. From the pistol, Rodgers takes the snap. Quick little drag route caught by Muth. Fighting his way to the 3-yard line. Timeout! 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 What are we doing? Oh my God, dude, the Madden AI, it's so bad. 4, 3, 2, this is going to be last play. They snap it. Rodgers runs. He's in! Touchdown, Steelers! And he gritties! We have a Rodgers gritty, oh my Lord! That was electric. First of all, what are we doing, Mike McCarthy, not calling a timeout? They snap it with a half-second left on the clock, and Rodgers runs it in, powers his way into the end zone. And the Steelers are up 8. Going into halftime, and they get the ball.
Isn't that his 3rd rushing touchdown?
Yes, I think
he had one last week too.
Rodgers might lead the team in rushing touchdowns right now.
Oh my God,
it's unbelievable, man. All right, well, time for our halftime show here, which is presented by our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Playoff basketball is still here, guys, but it won't be around forever, and there's no better place to cash in during playoff season with our friends at Prize Picks. The app is really easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and lock in your lineup. And if basketball isn't your thing, they have a ton of other sports to choose from as well, with a number of different stat projections to choose from to truly customize your daily fantasy experience. You can even look ahead to next year's football season with stats like sacks, for example. I'm taking the more on Myles Garrett, passing yards for quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, or receiving yards for receivers like Jeremy Bernard. This particular projection can win you $95 if you put in a $20 entry fee in what is called a power play with Prize Picks, which means you have to get all 3 correct to cash in your winnings. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk Live. All right. Second half coming up here. Burrow is pissed at his offense. He's not used to putting up 6 points and a half. Tell you that much right now. Rodgers 8 for 11, 86 yards with a touchdown and a pick. I mean, here's the thing, Ponzi. I'm looking at Rodgers standing next to Washington. That is not even close to the realistic height and weight of Darnell Washington. Can you adjust that, by the way?
I mean, not for the cutscenes, no.
Oh, I guess.
Because these are all pre-rendered.
Yeah, so that's a fair point. All right, kicks away. Steelers getting the ball up 8. Weegan will take it from the 6. And the rookie from Iowa will try to make a move. He's unsuccessful, though. He gets to the 28. And that is where Raji and the offense will take over again. Big-time rushing touchdown for Rodgers on the last play of the first half. Excuse the number 23 on Jeremy Bernard, by the way, guys. We had him on 17 last game. He was 16 the first game, 17 the second game.
17 and now 23.
Heavy formation here for Rodgers. Play action. He's got time. Now he's going to throw down the field. It's caught, and Darnell's going to make a move, and he's loose down to the 32-yard line. First down, Steelers. What a play.
So, you'll see Darnell line up, and he looks huge.
Yeah, that's true.
So there we go.
Darnell Washington is a mountain of a human being, man. And he's electric as a after-the-catch specialist.
I mean, he's been juking.
Yeah, he's juking people out. 2 receivers set here, offset I formation. They're going to go double play action. Rodgers will throw tight window, and it's caught. Nice catch by Jaylen Warren, picking up 9. Roman says, if Rodgers hits the gritty, I would laugh so hard I would start hiccuping for a month. Me too, man. That was crazy. Offset I formation, 3-step drop. Rodgers throws quickly, and it's caught and immediately gone out of bounds there. Michael Pittman Jr. shows up for the first time today. Nice catch from MPJ. Now the Steelers are in the Bengals red zone with a chance to go up multiple scores here at home. Got to take advantage here, Ponzi. Got to take advantage. You didn't take advantage of your opportunities against the Falcons to put it away, and you saw what happened. 2 receivers set, 2 tight ends. It's going to be a handoff to Warren. He's going to make one man miss, and he'll pick up 6. By the way, man, this is against a Bengals team that a lot of people are kind of projecting as a bounce-back team this year. And they could. They've added quite a bit of talent to their defense, and Burrow is back healthy, and they still got Higgins and Chase and all these guys. Well, right now, Steelers kind of putting belt to ass. We got I formation handoff to Warren, and he almost gets in. He gets to the 2 because we got to save our rushing touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. Can't let any other person run one in for a touchdown. We got to save those for QB, for the QB here. And now Rodgers will be in the offset I again, 2 receivers from the 2-yard line. Rodgers will take the snap. He will hand it off to Warren. He's up the middle, and he's in! Touchdown! Steelers going up 2 scores, burying the Bengals here in Pittsburgh. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. By the way, we got a little bit of news in the National Football League as Matthew Stafford and the Rams have reached agreement on a 1-year, $55 million extension. Woo! So that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of shmoolah.
For the league MVP. Kick is up and good.
What's very interesting about this game is that they kind of started off slow, classic Steeler football, and now it's like that weird one where you feel like you really haven't had a lot of offensive possessions. But, they've been pretty good drives every time. I don't think we've had a 3-and-out.
Yeah, I think they've moved the ball really well. It's just they had that one interception. But now 21-6, 2 separate touchdown drives. And then, of course, you had that fumble recovered for a touchdown. Pittsburgh kind of putting belt to ass so far, man. Hopefully I'm not speaking too soon here. But kicks away from Boswell. Going to be fielded inside the 5. And taken to around the 22. Cole Holcomb with the tackle on special teams, and here comes Burrow and the Bengals down 2 scores. It kind of feels like they got to score a touchdown here, Ponzi, because if they don't score here, and then even if the Steelers get a field goal, they're up 3 scores in a Madden game. There's just no way I could see the Bengals come back from 3 scores in a Madden game on the road against this Steelers defense.
I wouldn't say never, though, Sperry. Well, we saw last week.
Fair enough, but, that was 2 scores.
That's true.
And it was tough enough as it was. Shotgun here for Burrow, condensed formation. He'll take the snap and throw quickly, and it's going to be caught by his check down, Chase Brown, who will get 2 yards. Good tackling here by the Steelers. It's been a lot of dinking and dunking from Joe Burrow in this game Ponzi. Not a lot of downfield passes. In fact, has he even thrown a single pass? I think he's only thrown one pass down the field, and it was to the end zone, and it was incomplete. Everything else has been within 10 yards. Shotgun here for Burrow, looking for the quick pass. Now he's going to dump it off. The sit route over the ball. It'll be a decent gain. Gain of 5. It'll be 3rd down and 3. Come on, baby. Get the belt out. Get the belt out, baby. Let's get after Burrow's ass here. Let's go. Let's heat him up a little bit. Shotgun here for Burrow. He'll take the snap. He's looking. Now he's going to look to run. He's going to launch it downfield. It's a wobbly football. Somehow caught. 1st down, Bengals. Yoshivas makes the catch. It was a contested ball. Burrow was hit as he threw it, so the ball was wobbly, and yet the Bengals player still comes down with the ball in Steeler territory. You can't make it up, folks. Shotgun here for Burrow. 2 receivers out wide to the right, takes the snap. Looking for the quick route again. It's going to be caught for a gain of 6. Hospital ball to T. Higgins. That was payback for fumbling it earlier. He wanted to send him a message. Don't drop the fucking football. 2nd down and 4 here. So they're now inside the Steelers' 30-yard line. Shotgun for Burrow, takes the snap. He will hand it off to Chase Brown, and he's going to be stonewalled right at the line of scrimmage by Patrick Queen. It'll be 3rd down and 4 as he lays the hammer down on him. You'd love to see that. Love to see PQ playing with a lot of fire and intensity and passion. It's where he's at his best. 3rd down and 4, come on. Stop him to another field goal here. Burrow will take the snap. He's looking. Now he has to step up. Now he has to throw it downfield, out of bounds, incomplete. Just threw it away with the pressure getting home. Let's see if the Bengals go for it. If I'm the Bengals here, Ponzi, I'm going for this. Like, field goals are not going to win you this game. Also, how is that not intentional grounding? So they're kicking a field goal here. Zach Taylor's just a pussy, I guess. Kick is up.
They are the Pussycats for a reason.
And it's good, 21-9. Obviously, that keeps it a 2-score ball game, but if the Steelers score a touchdown here, the game is pretty much over.
Yeah.
So the Steelers have a hell of an opportunity here as the 3rd quarter is starting to wind down. You got less than 2 minutes to go here in the 3rd. So Alex Highsmith is ready to return it again. Because, just to be clear, he's not out there, but in the cutscene they show him on there for some reason. Kick is away. And it's going to be fielded by Alex Highsmith. I mean, Jeremy Bernard. Oh, he's slithering through some people here, and he's going to get to the 37. What a return from Jeremy Bernard. When he's returned it, Ponzi, he's been better than Caden Weegan. Even though I think Caden Weegan's like a 95 returner.
Yeah, he has a 95 return rating, so.
And I think Bernard's like a 75, but like Bernard's gotten past the 30 multiple times so far this year.
The thing is, he's faster. I guess to change of direction, I don't know, man.
I don't know. Under center here in a heavy formation, 1 receiver on the field for Pittsburgh. This is a running formation if I've ever seen one. That's exactly what they do. Look at the blocking up front, and Jalen with a spin move. Disgusting! All the way down to the 36-yard line. 1st down, Steelers. Whack, whack, whack. Dude, the belt has come out in Pittsburgh, and Jamar Chase has to sit there and watch it happen. Gotta love it. Trips left, shot or pistol for Aaron Rodgers. He will hand it off to Warren again, and he won't get anything, just a gain of yard. 2nd down and 9. So for all the people saying play Rico Dowdle, where are those guys at? Jalen Warren is just dominating this game. Now they'll go empty. 2nd down and 9. Rodgers. He's got a bunch out to the left and a stack out to the right. Takes the snap. He's looking. He's going to throw a quick drag to DK. Nobody on him. And he will pick up a nice 10-yard gain or so. 1st down. Steelers. Driving again, folks. Guys, Aaron Rodgers is not like a super highly rated quarterback in this game. And yet with the weapons that we have now around him, Like, this Steelers passing offense has been pretty good in the Madden simulated season. Now, obviously, it's Madden, all right? It's not real football, but, like, obviously on paper, it just shows that this offense is pretty decent. Now, Rodgers on the run. Beautiful throw. It's going to be caught by Bernard, and another gain of 12. First and Steelers. Now in the Bengal red zone again, with a chance to go up 3 scores here in the fourth quarter, as that will end the first 3 frames of this ball game in Pittsburgh. In week 1, Ponzi, we threw that game away against an inferior opponent. That has not happened in this game. Steelers are playing pretty darn well on both sides of the ball. Heavy formation here. They will hand it off to Warren. Look at the hole. Oh, my Lord. And it's going to get all the way down to the 2-yard line. This Steelers offensive line is dominating. Dominating. They cannot stop us. First down and goal, run it down their throats until they can stop it. Looks like another run here. DK's all by himself. They're so worried about the run. Now it's going to be a pass. Rodgers throws end zone. Touchdown, Steelers! DK, have it your way. He scores. Let's go. DK Metcalf with the catch. It was almost a disaster. Rodgers got hit as he threw, but it ends in a touchdown. Belt to ass, belt to ass, belt to ass. Start warming up the buses. Start warming up the buses, Cincy. Kick is up and good. 28-9. Steelers lead. Good shit, man. That's good shit. 6.5 minutes to go here. We're up 3 scores. You always love to see the Steelers dominate the Cincinnati Bengals. It's always a great sight. If this actually happens in real life, that is a fantastic birthday present to just watch this team dominate a division rival at home, in front of the home crowd, feeling good about the season, coming off a week beating the reigning AFC champs. Kicks away. It's going to be fielded and returned to the 28. Here comes Burrow strutting his stuff out there, even though he's down by almost 20. Essentially what the Bengals need is touchdown, 3 and out, touchdown, onside kick, touchdown. That's the path to them winning this game. Very unlikely. They're going to go out and empty with Burrow. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring out the 2-minute offense here. Takes the snap. Quick throw. Yeah, that's going to get it done. Quick drags. 9 yards for Higgins. He doesn't fumble this time. I'm fine with that, man. Keep that clock ticking. Trade yards for time off the clock. Under center now with multiple tight ends. I don't know if this is the formation you want if you're down by almost 20. Play action, quick throw, caught, and makes one guy miss. Nice play here. But I think that was Chase Brown. First down, Bengals. Gets out of bounds, so clock stops, and Mike McCarthy with a tan, clapping it up with everybody on the sideline. I mean, I know it's hot in Latrobe. I didn't know it was that hot. Under center, double play action, throws it to Chase in the flat, and he's going to make one man miss but immediately go out of bounds. Picks up a gain of 3. You know what we haven't seen in a while, Ponzi? We haven't seen like a sack. Had multiple sacks in week 1, and then we haven't really seen a lot of sacks these last 2 weeks.
I don't even think there's been one today.
Shotgun for Burrow. He's going to look for the quick throw, and there's a vacated space over the middle. It's caught for a first down. Gets down to the Steelers' 34. So we now get under 5 minutes to go in Pittsburgh. Appears that the Steelers are kind of playing, safe. Trying to trade time off the clock for yards. Here we go. Handoff to Chase Brown. He's going to make a man miss. Oh, my goodness. He tries to go spin move. Won't work against Jaquan Brisker. Gets inside the Steelers' red zone, though. First down, Bengals. Down to the 18.
They are using so much clock, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this drive. Like, they're not calling timeouts, obviously. They're not really in 2-minute drill yet. Now they go out in heavy personnel. One receiver. Now they're going to hand it off. It's Chase Brown, makes one man miss. No, that's Samaje Perine, my mistake. He gets 9. Clock will continue to tick. You can see those terrible towels flying in the background. It's a beautiful sight to see, man. Now here we go. We got a spread formation, 2-by-2. Shotgun for Burrow. Takes the snap. He's looking. Now he's going to roll out to his left. Throws end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Jamar Chase. And it's Robert Spears Jennings. F. Ponzi in the chat for having him play. Boo.
I told you he got hurt.
Boo.
He got hurt. What am I supposed to do? Turn injuries off?
Well, Robert Spears Jennings won't be the third safety. Probably be Jalen Ramsey, honestly.
Well, I had Ramsey at safety, too.
Still F. Ponzi in the chat.
Man.
Kick is up, and it is good. First touchdown of the day for the Bengals. Still a 2-score game, though, and the Steelers will get the ball. If the Steelers even get a couple first downs here, it's over. Because I think the Bengals are going to have to start using timeouts right now. They're going to have to get the ball, get a touchdown, get an onside kick, and then get another touchdown. And they would win the game in that instance. There's Alex Highsmith ready to fumble the ball. I don't know. It's the same animation. Oh, they're going onside right now, and a nice little pickup here by Roman Wilson. He just got kicked in the head. It's kind of like that scene in The Blind Side. Hey, you're not saying he kicked him in the head. You're not saying they kicked my guy in the head. Then he gets flagged for complaining about it. It's crazy that a head coach would get flagged for complaining that an opponent kicked his player in the head. Racism, dude. Just racism all over the place in these movies. All right, first down and 10. With Mike McCarthy's tan, he's going to get profiled. Handoff here to Rico Dowdle, who'll pick up no yardage. I am on one today, dude. All right. Bengals are not calling timeouts, by the way. Second down and 10. The Steelers lose this game, guys. I don't know what I'll do. It's going to be from pistol. Handoff, and look at this. Look at that hole for Jalen Warren. Once again, this O-line parting the seas for Warren, and he picks up a Steelers first down. Trips right, pistol. Rodgers will hand it off to Warren, and he finds another crease, and he's going to fight forward for another Steelers first down. 2-minute warning in Pittsburgh, 28-16 Steelers lead. And now all you have to do is run the ball. They're going to start calling timeouts here, but it's going to be a handoff to Warren. He's going to break a tackle. Breaks another tackle, and he gets 3 yards at the end of it. Michael says the Steelers love making games stressful. This is not stressful at all. We're up 12 with the ball, and the clock's ticking. They're not even using timeouts. This game's in the bag. Shotgun here for Rodgers. Doubles out to the right. He'll take the snap and hand it to Warren. Once again, great blocking, and he is almost in. Gets down to the 2. Jalen Warren, what a game. And the Bengals are just saying, please don't score on us again. Run up the score. Run up the score. Run up the score. Hand off to Ward, and he cannonballs in. Touchdown Steelers. Run up the score. Run up the score. Run up the score. Fuck the Bengals, man. Steelers for the second straight game are going to score 35 points on an opponent, barring a Chris Boswell field goal. Look at the Bengals, man. They're pissed. Just gave up 35 to a 42-year-old man. Great stuff. Kick is up and good. Bernard Nixon with a $2 super chat says, why do people say Aaron Rodgers was terrible last year? Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think people kind of attribute an offense's passing production with the quarterback, and they don't really take in the proper context of play caller, of the weapons that they had, the personnel they were in most of the time last year, which included a lot of heavy tight end sets, and they're not really thinking about that aspect of it. They just think, oh, the Steelers didn't throw the ball down the field and they weren't very good at it, therefore Rodgers sucks at it, and it's like, it's not necessarily the case, right? But also he was bad, and the offense was bad in the playoff game, and that's the last thing they remember, right? Like, what do we always say, Ponzi? The last impression is the lasting impression. And the last time we saw Aaron Rodgers, he was putting up 6 points in a playoff game and could barely move the football. And people attribute that performance with the quarterback because that's what everybody does in the NFL. Whatever the offense does, it's all on the quarterback. And especially if you watch that game, there's no way you can watch that film and think that Aaron Rodgers was the main problem with that game. Like, no way. Like, that defense was just way better talent-wise. They were locking people up in man-to-man coverage, and the pass rush was getting home. There was literally nowhere to go with the football if you were Aaron Rodgers. So, like, what was the expectation? That he was going to turn into prime Rodgers and carry you to a win? I don't think so. And now that you have this better wide receiver room around him, you don't have Jonnu Smith, and I said it to Jeremy Chugs today. He asked me about Jonnu Smith, and I told him, this offense was like playing with 10 people last year when he had Jonnu Smith out there. He was that bad. He's no longer on the team, so it's going to immediately be an upgrade as this game officially wraps up. 35-16, more than doubled their score. What a performance from the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, getting some much-needed vengeance from, giving away that season opener versus the Falcons. But that's what I would say, Bernard, is, the combination of the passing offense not being dynamic last year paired with, the poor season finale against the Texans. And, a lot of people are frustrated about the playoff drought here in Pittsburgh, and they kind of put their attention on Rodgers on that because they can't put it on Tomlin anymore. So I think that's probably why people say he was terrible last year. I don't know how you watch the film from last year's Steelers offense and say he was terrible, though. Like, limited, maybe okay. But terrible to me is like 26th or worse starting quarterback in the game. He was at least like the 20th best guy in the league last year. Like, at least. So that's where I'm at, man. That's going to be it for the Madden sim. We did not make enough for Joey to do a boot, so you can do a boot off camera if you want, Joey, but we're not going to be doing one on today's show. I greatly appreciate your guys' support. Next time you'll see me and Ponzi, we'll be back live probably next Tuesday. We'll see how things go on the early portion of next week, but we're going to continue to get you guys great Steelers content. If there's any news that happens during my bachelor party this weekend, I'll still make sure to get you guys great Steelers content and videos out there as soon as I possibly can. So thank you guys so much for joining us here today. We'll see you guys next time, and until then, here we go, Steelers.